Welcome to Want More with Dr. Moore, the criminologist of the Bay. Your host, Dr. Talia Moore, is a college professor who created this space to discuss and facilitate transformation in learning. Each week we'll bring you dynamic leaders and change makers and discuss systems, practices, policies, and people that intersect and impact justice as we know it. And now your host, Dr. Talia Moore.
Welcome to Want More with Dr. Moore, the criminologist of the Bay, where we bring you stories and insights at the intersection of justice and society. My name is Dr. Talia Moore, and I'm your host today. And today I'm fortunate to have with me Alicia Mitchell. She is a representative from the Alameda County Probation Department. Alicia's been a vital part of the department's efforts to create safer communities while balancing rehabilitation and accountability. Thank you, Alicia, for being here and welcome.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so thank you for being here. This will be a good time, good opportunities to share and learn about probation and your role there, as well as what got you into the position that you're in today.
Wonderful. I can't wait to have this discussion with you.
Yes. So first, I want you to, start off, if you could share about your role at the Alameda County Probation Department and what initially drew you into the field.
Okay, so I am currently Alameda County Probation Strategic Communications Director, and I've been doing that for a little over a year. I've been at the agency for 17 years. So I kind of came into the field of probation, honestly, because of my mom. She worked at Alameda County Probation Department for years. She is a member of the Alameda County Women's Hall of Fame. She has been very instrumental within the agency, the department, and the community. And I got to see firsthand the difference she made, the impact she had, and how people's lives were changed by just her being willing to help. And it really impacted me as a child. And here I am today.
Right. Well, it's interesting that you say that. I actually am second generation probation as well. My dad, uncles, godparents, all worked within the San Mateo County Probation Department. And so just seeing them in those spaces also influenced my career as well. So I love to hear that, just the family influence.
100%. My brother actually just retired last year on his 50th birthday. So she got us both into the field, and we both have rich careers in Alameda County Probation.
Nice. Keep the money going, right? All right. So got the family connection, been in probation, like you said, 17 years. So curious to kind of hear about some of the shifts that have happened in the course of your career while at probation. What are some of the most significant changes or shifts you've seen in probation practices, particularly in Alameda County over the course of your career?
I would say the biggest shift I've seen is the transition from us brokering services to actually participating in the intervention services that we provide our clients. I remember as a young deputy, we spent a lot of our time assessing our clients, trying to figure out what programs would be best for us to send them to so that they can get the services they need. But a lot of shifting has been happening in probation related to how we can be practitioners of behavior change and being able to employ what we know to be best practices in probation to actually affect lasting change in our clients. And a lot of that has to do with us taking advantage of the time we have with them to employ cognitive intervention strategies. We take time to explore what is going to really increase their intrinsic motivation to change, and then take the time to teach them tools to be able to employ those strategies and use them when they're not active to probation anymore.
Definitely can appreciate that. And I know that Alameda County is rich in services. And so to kind of take that service model out in the community, but have the providers coming through probation really does make sense.
Yes. So we like our providers to also mirror those strategies, right? So we have programs that we offer, such as Elevate Academy, for providers in the community to be able to mirror these strategies and skills with their organization so that we can have time to deal with our clients in that way. They can have time to deal with our clients in that way. And it's reinforcing the learning from both perspectives. And that's what's really helping us increase the likelihood for lasting change.
So I'm familiar with probation and you're familiar with probation, but for any listeners who may not be familiar with probation, can you give them a little bit of insight about the inner workings of what probation, the probation department does, the services, and an overall explanation of the system of probation as well?
Okay, so probation has a lot of hats, but for the most part, we wear two main hats: law enforcement and resources, right, in a social service capacity. So we do have the component where we're keeping the community safe, and we do that through supervising our clients, assessing their risk level for reoffending, right? How likely are they going to reoffend? We assess that, and we try and target our interventions to mitigate their likelihood to do that. And then at the same time, we realize that a lot of times their behavior is stemming from systemic issues that need to be addressed for them to be able to be successful outside of probation. So we also take the time to figure out what resources do they need. Do they need counseling services? Do they need home stabilization? Do they need financial support, meaning we have to equip them to be able to employ themselves and keep a job, and really get to those things that might impede success, so that as we're taking the time to help them go through the services they need to get successful, they also have the things in place and the structure in place so that once they are at a place where they feel like they've reached their goals, they can maintain them long term.
Nice. Love to hear that. Right. So now we have a great description of probation. And I know for my students that should never, ever be a question about what probation is. A large portion of the work the probation department does involves young people. How does the Alameda County Probation Department approach juvenile justice, and what efforts are being made to keep youth out of custody?
So at Alameda County Probation, we have a continuum service for our youth. Our Positive Youth Development Division is equipped with deputies who service youth for prevention services. Those youth who are in the community who might have some high-risk behaviors being exhibited, but they haven't been arrested or got any trouble with the law. We might have a referral from those people who know those young people and give us an opportunity to talk to them, have interventions, find out what services we can put in place to prevent them from coming into the system. So reaching out into prevention is one of the things that probation has been doing also a lot more recently, to try and figure out how we can keep our youth from coming into the system. We've done a great job of lowering our numbers. Right now, we probably have less than 50 youth in custody. And when I started at probation, we probably had close to 300 or more. And so being able to reduce the numbers in custody have really helped us. But then figuring out, how do we expand that success, right? And the best way for us to do it is to stop them from even coming in contact with our services. So we do a lot for prevention. We also have the OK program. And so those are for our young Black boys in the community. The program is for Black boys. It is Black men in our community that are supporting the program. We have officers that are assigned to the OK program that work with the youth in helping them establish pathways, either to college or trade or the military, right? So figuring out what they want to do, bridging that gap between the young people and the law enforcement officers in our community, and helping them establish what they want to do so they can go forward and be productive members of society after the program. And these youth too have not been arrested necessarily, are not active to probation. We go into the schools and find these youth and have them participate in our program, because we know that Black boys are the ones who are feeding our program at probation the most, right? So this is a way for us to try and stop that cycle as well.
Yeah. And I appreciate hearing about the continuum of care and the recognition that prevention is part of that continuum when we think about the justice system.
Absolutely.
And that model as well. So you mentioned one sector of the populace that probation serves. And I know that I've we've worked together in other capacities, but could you also speak about some populations that have emerged under, the need of care for probation? So you talked about young men. I know that you work with young women in particular. And so any other special populations that you can think of?
Absolutely. In probation, we do have a specific supervision models. So we have deputies that specifically work with our young men who are identified as high risk for being CSEC. And so we do have deputies who have specialized training and intervention services tailored to our gender specific population. And then another population we are really focused on at probation is our transitional age youth. Recently, the laws have changed a lot, making our youth population up to age 24, which is much older than we used to do, right? It used to be 18 and you're gone. Now you're 24. So we have some young adults in the mix, and there are different needs for that population. They need to have different things to be successful because they're toting the line of being a kid and being an adult. They need to figure out, hey, what skills do I need to be an successful adult? But also, what do I need? Housing? Do I need employment? Those things become more and more important once parents have less obligation to supply those things, right? Or some of our youth don't have any parents at home to support those transitions, right? So being able to ensure they get opportunity to have community and belonging and things that we don't necessarily think about when we think about stabilization, right? We just want to get them what they need and get together, but there's other skills that we have to employ so that they can be successful post-probation, and that's really our goal all the time.
Nice. And just for clarification, for CSEC, so for anyone who may not know what that terminology means.
So for CSEC, that are commercially sexually exploited children. And those are youth who we don't consider them as offenders because they're victims in our eyes. However, those are populations that have been victimized in that way or have possibility of being victimized in that way. We do assessment to see, are there risk factors that are existing for these youth that we need to pay special close attention to because they are exhibiting likelihood to be fall into those categories. And so then we employ special intervention services for that population as well.
Right, that is good to hear. And thank you for the explanation around what that stands for. A growing movement focuses rehabilitation over punishment. How does Alameda County incorporate rehabilitative services such as mental health programs, substance abuse treatment, or job training into the services that are allocated for you?
We invest in our service providers. We spend millions of dollars investing in services that are there to support not only our clients, but youth in the community at large, right? So all youth in Alameda County, ages 8 to 24 are eligible for free services paid for through Alameda County Probation throughout the county. So service providers that are contracted by probation provide services for all youth and their families within the county. So I just want to put that out there for some of your listeners who might not know that, because that is something we really are trying to get out into the public right now. I've been working with our contracted providers to create a new brand for them. We're trying to figure out, how do we let everyone know about the free services that we provide for the community, because they're highly underutilized. And it is mentoring, it is mental health services, it is job preparation, job training, job placement. And so all of those services are available to our youth, and we try to offer them to all the youth contact, right? So we do an assessment that determines what their needs are. We also try and use our professional judgment to dig in, talk to the kids, figure out what their goals are, what things motivate them and get them excited. And then we try and find services that match those things so that they can get involved in stuff that is going to help them change into who they want to be.
Nice. So free service. Free. We heard that.
Yeah,
that resonated resound around the room for sure. I think it's interesting that you spoke to, the ability to work with the youth or, the person on the caseload, but also can you speak to the extension of services to families. And what does that look like if you have a client and then their entire family is benefiting from the services probation has to offer?
We take a holistic approach to our client services. So our probation officers don't just figure out what's going on with the youth, because most of the time youth have families. And many times it's the whole family structure that needs support so that the youth can be most successful. So we assess the youth's needs. We do have services that we refer them to. But if we determine that a parent needs services, like maybe there's a substance abuse issue that needs to be addressed, we're going to get the parent service support as well. If there's mental health issues that need to be addressed, if there's a family dynamic that we can put parent and child into a program together so that they can work out, we are going to do that as well. We offer a Breaking Barriers program, which is opportunity for the family to, maybe they're behind on rent, maybe their PG needs to be paid, maybe they need beds, or they haven't been able to get clothing and so they're uncomfortable going to school. Whatever is needed to help the youth be successful, we're going to try and do. And that includes whatever's going on in their family, whatever supports they need.
I tell my students all the time, when you work with a kid or a youth, you work with the entire family. So it is really good to hear about the support services that are available to families, for sure. So there's been a push for probation reform across the country. What reform initiatives or new policies are currently being implemented in Alameda County to address issues of racial disparity, over-incarceration, or really just the unequal treatment of services to maybe different populaces in the communities, races, or genders?
In my opinion, I feel like probation has been a little bit ahead of the curve in that, because we've been talking about disproportionate minority contact since I started the agency 17 years ago. It's always been something that we've tried to put at the forefront of our officers' minds so that we know that we have impact on that as well. We might not be the people bringing clients in or determining who comes before us, but we do have impact. So we try to make sure that our reports are not loaded with information that would share things like demographics. We try to keep it neutral, right? So here's what happened. Here's what are the determining factors that make this the crime and what circumstances are important, but we try to leave things out of it, like this Black man did that, or this Mexican man did that, or even this white person did that, right? Because it's not germane to what happened necessarily. If it's a racial crime, then of course we have to include those elements, but being cognizant of the fact that sometimes we include bias when we don't mean to, and teaching our officers how to be mindful of that and avoid it when they can, right? And then another thing we do in probation is we try to be neutral always. So whether or not there are other racial things that are going on within the community, within the probation field, we ourselves as Alameda County Probation Department, we do our part to stay impartial, to stay unbiased as much as we can. We teach our staff about their bias and help them identify it outside of the work so that when they engage in the work, they're aware that they exist and they try not to bring them into there. Now, there's nothing we can do about things. Sometimes stuff happens, but we really try to train our officers and prepare them so that when they walk into a room with a client, they're walking in impartial and ready to help and not judge.
Nice. And I like to hear that for sure. You know, the amount of training, and I remember this as a probation officer, the amount of training and the training hour requirements, in the moment, it seems like a lot, but given the fact that the work really, is not just on the legal side or the law enforcement side, but the social side, the amount of training really makes sense. And so post probation in my career, I could definitely be appreciative of it. And I really am glad to hear that Alameda County Probation is still really focused around ensuring that their officers are trained.
Absolutely. We are an evidence-based agency, and so we thoroughly train our staff, from our receptionists to our deputy chiefs, in evidence-based practices, and we try to use that model throughout all of our services within our agency. And that includes being aware of the disparities that exist for our clients and trying to neutralize them so they can have their best chance at success.
That's nice. All right, so I have another question, and this is more so on a national front here.
Okay.
We have a new president in office, and some of the the changes that are taking place as a result of the administration have the potential to even trickle down to the services that probation is able to extend to the community. What do you foresee or see that could be impacted as a result of some of these federal changes that could be coming down?
Those are things that we're still exploring. It's still kind of new. So we have a research and evaluation team at probation, and that's something we're exploring. What do we need to be prepared for? What do we need to be looking for down the road? And we also are closely connected to CPOC, which is California Probation Officers Chiefs Organization Association, and they are also looking at those things on a greater scale and coming up with guidance for each county on how we can be preparing for those things. So I would say it's still in the making.
As is everything. Right. So just a little bit kind of more granular in that question, how is probation responding, or what kind of services, or what is even like the interaction with clients who may be undocumented, and how is probation engaging with those clients?
So as it relates to immigration, we're in the state of California where we don't have to explore that with our clients. We may know, but we don't emphasize or illuminate that. For the courts, we don't utilize that as a leverage for services or interventions. Immigration status is just that, their immigration status. And as probation, we're going to work with our clients to give them the proper services, intervention, and support they need, regardless of that.
All right. Well, I'm sure people are appreciative of that stance that probation is taking, for sure. Yeah. All right. So advances in technology, right? Because this is the digital age and the time that we live in, right? So probation departments are adopting new tools to monitor and support individuals on probation. How is Alameda County using technology to improve supervision, track progress, and really just ensure resources are allocated?
So honestly, innovation is one of the things that our chief is passionate about. And so he has been allowing us to explore a lot of opportunities of integration of innovation into our services. So our case management system is highly advanced. It allows us to communicate digitally with our clients and with our providers, right? So we have portals available that we can communicate directly with our clients via text message or email. And we also can do the same with our contracted providers. So in our case management system, they can send us notes about the services they have or questions about our client services, and we can do the same for them and check in to see how our clients are doing and progressing through treatment, or do they need any additional information so that they can provide better support. So that has really helped us stay connected with our clients and our service providers. We have also done a little bit experimenting with AI. So finding out what ways we can utilize AI to streamline our work and get the job done in more efficient ways. So we had a couple pilots related to AI and what we can try. So basic things like administrative things, sending emails, responding to colleagues, things like that. But we've also had some ideas on how can we incorporate it in our report writing, or can we, utilize it to do research. So we're trying to explore how we can bring that technology into our work while being cognizant of the fact that AI is still experimental. And so we're not going too far off the deep end, but we're definitely trying to get our feet wet and keeping us on the cutting edge of technology and what's needed to be successful.
All right. So, well, kudos to Alameda County Probation and to your chief for having that long vision, right, about how to incorporate technology into the system and making it make sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How does the probation department collaborate with local law enforcement agencies in Alameda County to ensure the community remains safe while also fostering rehabilitation? And can you talk about this balance between restorative justice and the more punitive end that we've seen traditionally in play?
So, on probation, we have clients who have varying levels of need for intervention. So for a majority of our clients, our involvement with law enforcement is cordial, right? It's collaborative. If there are needs that are expressed by the police agency, we're going to support. We're good partners, community partners, law enforcement partners to those agencies. But for the most part, our clients are service-based, right? We're trying to get them the resources and services they need, and that is our primary focus. So we aren't necessarily feeding into investigations or anything like that to get our clients reoffended. But if there are things that we can support an agency in doing, we will engage. As it relates to keeping the community safe, we engage in task force. We also participate, for example, in a task force for our most highly dangerous offenders in the city of Oakland. There's a task force that the city puts on. And so we sit on that task force and participate in the services that come through that. And that is intervening interrupting the violence and making sure that we are paying attention to what's going on very closely so that we can mitigate any violence that may occur within the streets of Oakland. That's a way that we are helping keep this community safe while engaging with our law enforcement partners. And so we do that with agencies as well. So it's anywhere from, we're just being cordial. Sometimes we are having an appointment with our client and we can help out and be a mediator between law enforcement and our clients. We'll do that. Whatever it takes to help support our clients and support our partners, we try to be the middle person, right? Because our main goal is to keep the community safe, but also to keep our clients in a place and path of success. And so however we can marry those two, we do.
Nice. Nice. What is the vision for the Alameda County Probation Department within like the next 5 to 10 years? What changes should we anticipate seeing in the way that probation services are delivered, particularly in terms of rehabilitation and community engagement?
I would say that in the next 5 to 10 years, we have a new chief. Chief Ford has been with us a while now, but he was recently appointed as our official chief. He had a time as acting, but he's in the seat and he's ready to take charge. And so I am anticipating what it's going to be like in 5 to 10 years because we have a chief who is fresh and young and innovative. And so I'm excited to see where probation is going to be in 5 to 10 years. I know that we are embarking on a strategic planning process soon. And so that is going to give us a chance to really shape what we want to see in the next 5 years. But I anticipate it's going to be more client-centered services that are about rehabilitation and really integrating cognitive interventions with our services so that we can have a higher chance of reducing recidivism and having lasting change in our client. And we really believe that's the key to recidivism, right? Like, it's not just making sure that they stay out of trouble. It's all about helping our clients change how they make decisions, change how they approach life so that they can go in the world with confidence, that they can do what they want to do and achieve what they want to achieve. And I think that is the real answer to crime and recidivism, right? And so I really see us leaning into that, training up our staff. Chief is all about professional development and he has very high standards, but he's willing to invest in it. So we have LIDS, we have CAPS. LIDS is our leadership academy for our sworn staff. CAPS is for our professional staff. And so we're really investing in training and getting our staff equipped to be able to handle anything that comes their way so that we can be great service providers to match that model change. And so I really see probation getting more involved in the community. We have a strategic communications division now.
Okay.
Hey, the shout out. Yeah. So I'm going to be doing a lot more to educate the community about our services, about our new initiatives, about the programs we're doing. I'm going to give a shameless plug right here for our ACPD Spotlight and social media platforms. We would really love for you to follow us. And if you aren't already following us, you can follow us at AC Probation on all the platforms, including LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Sorry. And if you don't have social media, you can go to our website. We have our ACPD Spotlight, and it highlights all the things we put on social media so you can catch up without getting involved. If you're like, I don't do Facebook, we got something for that. So we really want the community to find out what's going on in probation. We want to be transparent and just share, because we've learned that a lot of people don't know what we do, and so they don't have the opportunity to get behind and support our services. And we really need everybody in the community so that we can be successful, because we're all about community.
Yeah, well, that was a great response. I'm hopeful that people will take that information and really go on and share about the resources probation has to offer.
Awesome.
Yeah, and kudos to the chief for having the insight to really move the needle in regards to the probation services that are delivered and how everyone is trained and prepared to be in those spaces to provide the best services possible.
Absolutely. I'm really fortunate to be at Alameda County at a time such as this, because I really see it on the precipice of something new and great and beautiful. And I'm born and raised in Alameda County. And so it really just warms my heart.
Right on. Well, homegrown, speaking that truth. Right on. Thank you. Thank you. Coming to the end, but I do want to ask you just, about your personal dedication to the position. So working in probation is undoubtedly challenging in some aspects, but also a level of reward is associated with the work that is being done. So what motivates you personally to continue working in this field, and what keeps you passionate about your role in the probation department?
I think I really believe in second chances. I believe that everyone has the capacity to change, and everyone deserves an opportunity to live up to that capacity. And it's something that fuels me with passion every day to know that sometimes people don't do the work to do the changes they want to make in their life because they just don't know how, or they don't have an opportunity to do that. So it's my personal mission to help those people find their voice and find their agency and find their power so that they can be the best person they can be. Because I really feel like environment and opportunity are what give that. And so if I can train an officer to be a better, probation officer, so that a client can come into the office and feel safe enough to share their truths, so that we can get to the bottom of what's driving their behavior, so that we can make a change, then I want to do it. If I can educate the community so that they can understand what probation's all about, so when they come in contact with one of our clients, they can be a support and a service to them as well, then I want to do it. Because I grew up in this community, I love this community, and one thing I used to tell my clients all the time is the only difference between them and me is we made different choices. And so if I can help them make different choices, then we can all help each other together.
Well, the choice is yours, but right on to helping people making better decisions, for real. All right. Well, thank you, Alicia. I really appreciate your honesty, your candor, your passion clearly for working in probation, and your willingness to share all of this information to me and to help hopefully the viewers out there as well, and to anybody who may have a touch point with probation, either it being themselves or someone that they care about. I think these resources are definitely going to be beneficial.
They're having me and listening and sharing with your audience.
Yes, yes. All right. So I challenge each of you to take this information into your communities, whether it's through advocacy, volunteering, or simply educating yourself and those around you. Thank you for tuning in to Want More with Dr. Moore, the criminologist of the Bay. If you found this episode informative, please leave a comment, subscribe, share, and be sure to click that button. And until next time, educate, empower, and enact the changes you want to see. Want more.
Want more with Dr. Moore, the criminologist of the Bay? Follow us on Facebook at Want More, Instagram at Want More Dr. Moore, and on TikTok at Want More with Dr. Moore for more information. Be sure to comment, like, share, and subscribe.